All right, our next speaker really doesn't need an introduction among this community, but I will introduce him anyhow. I don't know where he is.
I'm right here, Mark.
He's right there. He's so ubiquitous, he's invisible. Mike Wittenstein from Storyminers.
My whole presentation is going to fit on one piece of paper. So here it is. Carlos, are you ready? We're going to do a lot of button clicking in the beginning. I wanted to share a story with you guys about the connection between story and experience so that you can use it in your own work. A lot of you are focused on making really cool stuff happen, and I hope this will help you in some way. Okay? So we all are here today as practitioners of customer experience. We live in the moment, but most of us work on the future, right? We're all about making our numbers better, our customer outcomes better, adding more value. So we're all futurists in a sense. But the interesting thing for me is how many of us have to struggle with our management teams because they want to look back at yesterday in order to figure out how to get to tomorrow, right? That doesn't make any sense to me. It kind of works, but it kind of doesn't. So they're looking backward one more time, and we're trying it one more time. And we have these very sophisticated, cool tools, like return on investment. But the problem with that is return on investment doesn't measure the investment you're about to make, it measures the investment you already made. Will it continue to pay off? Let that sink in for a second. ROI is biased because it's all about using yesterday's hardware, firmware, thinkware to get ahead. They want to be validated that, yeah, my decisions were really good. Got that? How many of you agree with that, by the way? More of you need to raise your hand. Another thing that we get are vision statements, you know? Not enough time, too much beer, oh, great vision. We've got those to kind of go forward. And what else have we got? Pro formas, which are another two-syllable word made up, right? There's no such thing as a pro forma that's real. They're all conjecture. They're all kind of your best guess. But because they come in a spreadsheet fashion, people go, oh, that's amazing. But the really weird thing about that and decks and some of the renderings that you see are that they kind of paint a picture of the future, but they only paint a picture of the end state. The people who are spending the big bucks and looking for the ROIs, they're sometimes clueless about how you're going to get there. What's it going to be like? What's it going to feel like? How are you going to know when you're there? How are you going to enlist the energy of your teams to get there? I think there's a way to do this a little differently. And my proposition to you to think about as a tool for yourselves is to start in tomorrow. Everybody says you've got to measure where you are today so that you can make progress and go forward. And you make a little progress, and you make a little bit more, and you do another low-hanging fruit project, and you're making some progress. All of a sudden, the goal moves over here. So you start coming this way. The goal moves over here. You start moving that way. You guys know what I mean? You end up with like bright, shiny object syndrome, just kind of moving around and not really making the meaningful progress. So start with tomorrow. Are we on the right slide? Yeah. And look back at today and pull your way forward. So if you look back at today and figure out the steps that you need to get to tomorrow, it's the same stuff that you're doing with change process. You're just seeing it ahead of time, and you can orchestrate things so that you can make it a better experience for the folks that are sitting in today. And the conversations are so much more fun, and they're more meaningful, and they're all about creating value. Next, please, Carlos. So, how do you do that? Is that the next right question? Yeah. Okay, I have a couple of answers for you, all proven stuff. We start with the idea of stories and experiences. What you do today, notice the little middle black dot, is today. And the one that you see to your right is tomorrow. So you tell stories today about what the experience of tomorrow will be. And a tip, where's our empathy speaker? And a tip of the hat to the empathy speaker, and I forgot your name, I'm sorry.
Melanie.
Melanie, and I won't remember your last name because it just changed,
Seaworth.
right? Seaworth, okay. Do you know Connie Seaworth?
No.
Okay, not really. So if you tell people stories about the future experiences that they're going to have, you do it in terms that they can understand and that they can feel. Because people are generally not too happy about change coming their way. They want to make sure that it's going to feel right, that their job's going to be okay, that their kids are going to be able to be picked up after school, all those things. So you speak empathetically, you speak visually, you speak process, you speak algorithms, you speak a full story, you paint a full picture of what that experience is going to be like. And you do that so that the people that you're talking to can do three things. Discover what you're talking about. If you tell people things, they're not interested. If you let them discover something and let them figure it out, they're interested. That's where buy-in comes from. The best teachers in the world will tell you, don't teach kids. Guide them to knowledge. In every language, from ancient Indian tribes to Chinese to whatever, down in Brazil they do the same thing. Give people the discovery experience. Never steal the discovery experience. The discovery experience comes from, oh my gosh. Can I have 5 minutes from the next speaker? No. It's all about the details. You've got to get the details right in order to be able to tell these really rich stories. When people discover things, if they like what you're talking about, they'll start to buy in. And buy-in comes in the form of them telling the stories. It's the same word of mouth, net promoter thing going on the inside. And eventually you win adoption. This technique will get you from designing change to winning adoption for change. It's all the same process. You just have to do it twice, and you have to do it mindfully. Next, please, Carlos. So the trick is to swap these things. You're always going to have a few folks that no matter what you do are just digging their little damn heels in, and they're not moving. They're not budging. Their goal in life is to make you miserable, right? What do you do for those folks? And it could be 60% of your company. They need an experience first. Now you're laughing, but it's true, right? 90%. So if you can give people an experience of the future and then let them move into it, you're in really good shape. Okay, next. Because then what they'll do, next please, is they'll discover, they'll buy in, and they'll adopt. But they'll get to do it at their own speed, and they don't have to go first. Biggest fear, public speaking. Even bigger than that is acting. Stepping out on the stage and starting the play. Making all the stuff, all the sets behind you real to the audience. That is scary stuff. And that's what change is. Even if it's like having to push another button on the computer, that's what it's like for folks. So give them the opportunity to experience other people going through it. Next. All right, a couple techniques. We're going to do 2 of them. Next, please. All right, so this one's called See What You Say. Interesting that we've learned over the years that there's a really big connection between our mouths and our eyes. Have you ever noticed how sometimes people can't really say what they see? Or you can't understand what they're saying while their brains are engaged doing something else? They kind of stop talking. The opposite is also true. We form amazing connections as we're looking at something being built. So what we do with See What You Say, and I'm skipping the case studies here just because we're running out of, I know the next card's coming up any second. We did for this company called Lease Plan that does fleet management and credit based in Western Europe and works in like 25 countries. Using customers, using some of their own folks, we did this See What You Say exercise where Jorn, one of my buddies from Copenhagen and an ex-Disney animator, would listen to our conversations about what we wanted the ideal customer experience to be, and he would draw them. And he even put emotion into the cars. Isn't that what they're the little cars people? Okay, so everything's got that emotional feeling to it. Now what happened to the audience, the participants, is as they were watching these drawings being drawn from their words, like See What You Say, that's where the name comes from, they're making these connections in their brain that relate all of their experiences, many of their different ideas, and starts to calm them down about the future as they watch this stuff going. So building these things out in real time takes the attention off of the words, reduces the translation effect of going from PowerPoint deck to PowerPoint deck to PowerPoint deck and all that kind of stuff, and it improves recall. At the end of the exercise, what we did is we brought in a video camera, we gave people a little stick, and they would walk through and touch the different points of the experience and talk about it in vivid detail. They had like a minute. Then we changed to the next person and they would pick it up and go through that. And that was our final deliverable. They rolled out a version of this, including the exercises, to a number of those 25 countries, and they got tremendous adoption very quickly. And this is with very difficult, sometimes no new ideas here, Europeans of all different types. I could say any part of the world, but the change effect was tremendous. Next, please. Next. Human prototyping, how many of you already have heard about that or Okay, so it's a technique where we bring actors, experienced designers, and trained observers and real customers into the room to act out the next experience. So when you have an idea and before you go to market, you get a chance to see the whole thing play out. What's interesting is if you go back one, Carlos, see the guy right there? See how happy he is? That's okay. Oh, there he's moving again. All right, see the guy on the right? His name is Lon, and he's not real happy with what's going on with this hotel check-in procedure. All of a sudden, he's, When you see somebody else's reaction to your idea, it has an influence on you. You get a chance to gut check, you get a chance to feel what that idea is going to be like, because nobody wants to look bad, and everybody wants customers to love stuff. But we don't have emotional reactions. We have net promoter scores. That looks like a 6.7. What do you think? Is that an 8.2? We're missing something there. So human prototyping brings that kind of emotional intelligence to the conversation. Next, please. We switch out roles between the people. Next, please. We play things different ways to give different real actors and real customers and employees the feeling of standing in the other person's shoes. We should do a presentation together sometime.
I was just thinking.
All right, next please. We use two directors. The guy on the left is the stage director. He manages the talent. I usually manage the client and some of the other resources offline, or kind of off to the side, to make sure everybody's getting their ideas fully heard and the pacing of the action supports their strategy. So this is like real-time strategizing, if you will. Next please. Blah, blah, blah. So the reason that all this stuff works is that we're all wired for story. So the academicians, the people who wrote Ulysses and Harry Potter and all these other amazing novels have figured out there's this thing called a story arc. Something happens, there's a transformation in the character, a climax, and some kind of resolution. We just feel those stories everywhere we go. We want to share them. If it happens to the Kardashians, we'll talk about it. If it's a bleep on a tweet, on a political debate, we'll talk about it. It's all about that rise and fall. We love to see people go up. We love to see people come down. We never want it to be us on the way down, right? Okay? So we're wired for these stories. And what happens is when you pick up the story in an experience that you've designed, people get close to it. They walk right up to it. They want to get inside the experience with you. That's what Disney does so well, right? Yeah. They call it staying in the story. You can use that technique of future story to create your future experience the same way. Basically, the bottom line of the whole thing is design from the outside in, think customers first, change from the inside out. Do experiences first. Okay? Give people the experience that you want them to give their customers, or something very similar to it. Okay, that's it. I want you to say that now. Mark, when I send him 25 slides, he goes, Mike, come on.